Be sure to stay tuned until the end of the video for an important update. Hi everyone, it is I, Jacob Berry, your host of the StudioJake vidcast, as well as Comics, Cartoons, and Coffee, and StudioJake Lore Universe, not to mention StudioJake Faith Talk. I'm excited to be back. I've got a whole bunch of new updates, and I'm going to tell you about some things that happened while I was on break. All that will be at the end of the video. To kick things off for the new year, I'm going to show you the comic and manga haul that I got while I was on vacation. I can't wait to show you. I got some really great pieces. So sit back, relax, and welcome to Studio Jake. Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All right, all of you wonderful people. I want to thank all of you who were commenting on my community post while I was gone. A lot of you kept active. Thank you for the wonderful reception to my Avengers Doomsday parody trailer that I did. I was very excited when I made that. And like I said, I'm going to give a more thorough update later on in the video. But one of the reasons I took such a long break is I was having shoulder issues and whatnot, but more about that later. For now, let's just dive in so I can show off the really cool items that I picked up during the holidays while I was on break, and I want to share them with all of you. And by the way, I will be reviewing all of these items on my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. The link is in the description of the video. All right off the bat, check this out. This is Berserker, the deluxe edition, which was printed in the United States by Dark Horse Comics. Dark Horse made a really smart decision to get involved with translating manga into English. And I'm a huge fan of the 90s Berserk. I know that sounds contradictory because it's dark fantasy. It's not, the bright, colorful world that Tolkien and C.S. Lewis gave us. This is a much darker tale, and so if you're a parent and you're watching this, this is not for the kiddos. This has some extreme violence and other things going on in it, but I really wanted to get into it and read it because it is such a deep story. At least the anime was. This was a gift from my wife, actually, so thank you, honey. You're super cute, and I really appreciate it. Can't wait to dive in and to read this. Now, I won't be visiting New York anytime soon, except through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have never read The Last Ronin, and every single one of my friends, including my best friend, who is a big Ninja Turtles fan, he was like, Jacob, you have to read The Last Ronin. And yes, I know I'm late to the game. They've already done some spin-offs. They've done a sequel. They're thinking of doing a retelling of it. But I decided to go headfirst in and get the director's cut. And I am very excited to read this. Like I said, I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan. So I was a big fan of the show in the 2000s. I kind of like the one that came right after. Wasn't too big on Rise or the Seth Rogen reboot. I thought those were terrible, but I love the original 3 films. I love the animated sequel to them. And I kind of even like the Michael Bay produced ones. I know that's controversial to say, but I am excited to read this. I'm a huge fan of old school Ninja Turtle comics and, like I said, the stuff they did in the 2000s. So I'm excited to read this and dive in with the Turtles in a Half Shell. Going into the indie sphere, this is probably going to be the first comic that I review of the new year. This is Imperium Earth Limited from Big Man Comics, and it's done by Gabe El-Taib. And by the way, Gabe is a really cool guy. I have interacted with him on X and in DMs, and he also helped me out with an illustration for one of my OC characters, which more on that hopefully sometime in the near future. But I'm really excited to read this. I love Gabe El-Taib's work, and I'm glad to see him diving into sci-fi. Now, this is not superhero. This is specifically a science fiction story, and I am looking forward to reading it and getting involved in it. I think it's going to be a really good time. Now, I am a fan of Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1, and this is the reboot of the Ultimate Universe. This is the one where the maker, I believe he is, Reed Richards, who's a villain in this universe, he goes back in time and resets the Ultimate Universe. And as a result, Peter Parker doesn't become Spider-Man until he is older, he's more mature, he's actually a father, he's actually married to Mary Jane, and I can't wait to see where the series went. I loved Volume 1, and so I'm looking forward to diving into Volume 2. I'm not really getting involved with the other ones like the Ultimate Avengers or the Ultimate X-Men. I'm kind of just sticking to Spidey for now, but we'll see how that works later. Maybe if this is fun, even more fun, I might go into the other stuff. I've heard Ultimate X-Men isn't that good, but I'm going to give Spider-Man a try because I loved Volume 1 so much. All right, so this one actually combines two of my favorite things, that being anime and comic books. And right here we have the epic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover with Naruto. Now, Naruto is one of my favorite animes. I especially like its sequel, Naruto Shippuden, and I loved that series. I thought it had an epic conclusion. I haven't gotten into Boruto yet, but a lot of anime crossovers with comic books, they don't always make a lot of sense to me. This one, however, does make sense because they're all ninjas. So if the Ninja Turtles found a way to go into Naruto's world, I could see this being pretty epic. I don't really trust IDW Comics, but I'm hoping that since the Ninja Turtles are such a popular franchise and Naruto is such a beloved anime, I'm really hoping that this one comes out really cool. I'm going to at least give it a try. Like I said, I don't really trust IDW, but I'm willing to give it a chance. I have some high expectations. So we're going to dive into Naruto and the Ninja Turtles. This next one, I'm almost embarrassed I didn't have a copy of to begin with because it is actually my favorite Marvel epic event. Marvel doesn't do events like DC does. Typically, DC does events when they want to reboot something. Marvel does that occasionally, but typically they want to do it when they want to establish something new in the Marvel universe, and that is Fear itself. This is a crossover with the X-Men, the Avengers, and even Asgard. Obviously, Thor is an Avenger, but I just mean Asgard is more involved in this. So I read this when it first came out as in graphic novel form, I should specify. I didn't read the individual issues, but when it was released after the event, this instantly became my favorite Avengers slash X-Men slash Spider-Man and more story. Now, the story involves Thor has to have a fight with his evil uncle who's escaped his sort of cosmic prison, and he poses an existential threat to Earth. And as a result, the Avengers have to come together. Now, one thing that's interesting about this one is Steve Rogers has become the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he is no longer Captain America. Bucky is, but he has to step up and grab the shield once again. It is an epic story, and it has some comic book firsts for the Marvel Universe, and it was written before sort of the woke stuff took over. So I'm really excited that I actually have a copy of my favorite Marvel story. Okay, it took me a long time to get my hands on this. This is the final entry into the solo leveling series, and I know that solo leveling gets a lot of hate because Jinwoo, he kind of becomes overpowered. I don't think that bothers the story at all. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's sleek. I think it works. And check out that cover. Now, this was released in its home country of South Korea some time ago, but it just got released in the United States in 2025, and I am so excited that I'm finally going to sit down and read it. There was just so much going on and whatnot. I didn't make the time, but I finally got a hold of it, and I'm excited to see how the story concludes in comic book form. I'm very excited, not to mention the artwork in this by Dubu, who, may he rest in peace. He was a fantastic artist, and I'm so excited to see how this concludes, where the story ends, and I can't wait to see how they adapt it in the anime. Now, this next one, I'm even surprised that I didn't have a copy of, but here it is. So, this is the penultimate volume to the last great Batman run, that being the New 52 Volume 9 Bloom. This is actually one of my favorite images of Batman. I have read this before. I read it in a library, but I never actually owned it. I'm trying to collect all the New 52s. This was the last one I needed. And by the way, I've almost completely read it. At the time, I did skip the dumb story arc when Commissioner Gordon briefly becomes a mech Batman. That was stupid. But they did quickly course correct because they saw what awful status that was. But I'm glad to read this. I'm excited to read this. I think it's going to be good. When I read it at the time, I really liked it. So rereading it several years after it comes out, I'm curious what my thoughts are going to be on it. I've been going through the New 52 Batman era again, and the haters can go up an alley and holler fish. I love this story arc. I think Scott Snyder is very talented. Does he do everything perfectly? No, but his stuff goes really well with Greg Capullo. So I'm very, very happy that I finally got my copy, and soon I will be completing my Batman New 52 era collection. Now, this next one I didn't just pick out because of its intriguing premise, or even that it came out at a time when DC wasn't sure what to do with Jason Todd, but it also came out the year I was born. And that is Robin Lives. This is by J.M. DeMatteis and Rick Leonardi. This takes the premise of Death in the Family, which saw the death of Jason Todd, and rewrites it where Robin lives. And so he goes back to Gotham City and continues to be Robin, but then Joker mysteriously dies and Jason is at the top of the suspect list. And Batman wonders if he should confront him or not. But I'm very happy. One of the things I started doing, because the newer stuff isn't that good, it hasn't been that good in my humble opinion, I've been buying older stories and even trying to track down out of print editions of a lot of those classic stories. It's been kind of a hobby of mine, and so I'm very excited to read this one. Now, for all of you, I'm going to let you decide what is going to be the topic of next week's video. Would you like to hear one about Batman, about Spider-Man, about anime and manga, or an indie comic? And be specific. Do you want me to talk about indie comics more broadly, or would you like me to talk about something more specific like iconic comics or the Rippaverse? Please let me know in the comments. Leave a comment. I'm going to tally them up, and that is going to be how I decide to make my next video. All right, so the reason I took such a longer break than I usually would is because, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, I have an issue with my shoulders, and something happened that really caused those issues to flare up. I actually had to do a little bit of physical therapy for it, and I decided to take a step back from my website. Although I did just release a bunch of archived articles from my old website onto it, so that way it kept running. But I did decide to step away from the channel just because, as much as I love editing and filming these videos, they do and can take a little bit of time. And I thought just for the holidays, I'd take a rest. And I appreciate everyone who supported me when I went on hiatus. Thank you for that. All of you rock. Now, as for the big channel update, I have received a lot of positive feedback since I started to kind of redirect my channel. I went from doing like more pop culture reactions on the daily to doing more weekly videos where I could elaborate more on specific topics, and all of you have seemed to really like that. So I'm going to keep going that trajectory. I'm going to continue to do lore universe videos where I take deep dives into classical literature. I'm going to talk more specifically about story arcs and comic books and anime that I really like. And I'm going to continue to do comics, cartoons, and coffee. The one I did for the Rippaverse Norfolka release was very well received. Now, I have a goal for this year, and that is to reach 2,500 subscribers. So 2,500 subscribers. If we do that, we will do a live stream to celebrate, but that is the goal for 2026. I would appreciate all of your help if you will share out my videos, like and comment on them so they grow in the algorithm, especially with the way the algorithm is so wonky these days. YouTube is totally mismanaging this platform. Yes, YouTubers, especially smaller ones like mine, we have to be very careful with how we make content, what we say in our content, and how we edit them. But going forward, you're going to see a lot of new updates. I'm looking forward to your reaction. I'm pretty excited. We're going to get rolling. That's all I have to say for now. I'm going to have another announcement regarding my upcoming book, The Seven Royals, the third and the finale of the trilogy. So wait for that. For now, to everyone who has stuck with me, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you want to support me in the work that I do, head on over to my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. The link is in the description of the video. You can also purchase my novels there at the conveniently titled Buy My Book section. Hope you check them out. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. And here's to a future of 2,500 subscribers. And I know it's late, but Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake. I've been living life right like I